Hey guys, it's your old pal Alice Cooper. Basically, this is Spooktacular. So you're gonna be seeing a bunch of horror movies that have a Halloween theme to it. Look for it all this month.
Hey guys, it's me, Alice Cooper. I'm back for another review. This time it's Scream 2. Keeping on the theme of the Wes Craven movies from the 90s, basically. Well, it's not a very complex story. It starts out basically with Jada Pinkett Smith and LL Cool J. They go to the movies together to go see Stab um, 2. I think that's what it is. And no, it's called Stab actually. And they get their tickets, and they guy says, "Oh, come on, let's go see Sandra Bullock." And she said it's already started already, so they can stay, and they just stop messing around so much. And so they take they present their tickets, and the ushers hand them some costumes that the studio sent them. So, and everybody gets one evidently, and stab souvenirs evidently, and so the black guy grabs the costume, and they make their way in. They get their popcorn and their Coke from their concession area, and the guy says, "You got it." And so they go into the theater, and the lady says, "Oh, how romantic!" And the people are having a great time. It's a throwing popcorn, and they're having basically the time of their lives. And the credits, the title screen starts up, and the music begins. And we come to basically the beginning of Scream 1, with a different actress for Drew Barrymore, and there's a shower. She comes to the shower. She disrobes, and we don't get to see her get get butt naked on the screen. And the lady says, "What's that got to do with the plot of the story? Her being butt not naked?" And it goes, "Well, I know about the plot, and I got a stiff one." And the lady says, "You better stiff it. You better loosen that wrist." And one of the audience members says, "Do it, take it off." And of course she grabs the robe, and she figures something is up, so she answers the phone, and thus begins the stab story. That basically starts out like Scream. And the guy says, uh, well, before that, that they talk for a while about the movie, and by going to see the movie, and he says it's adrenaline. It's good to be scared. And she says, "Well, yeah, well, you'll sit through a movie called Stab." I'll tell you what, it's a movie. It's about a bunch of dumb butt girls in their white butts cut the freak up, okay? And then the guy says, "Well, Miss Sandra Bullock is Miss Ethnicity, right?" And then, of course, they have for a little while. He sits there and he enjoys the movie quite thoroughly, actually. And he says he has to go take a leak, and he goes in the bathroom, and there's two people with the ghost face costumes on their faces, and they turn around and they're using the urinals. So the guy's gonna have to use the stall, and he tries to get in one of them, and he says, "Oh, sorry," and he goes to the stall right next to that one, and basically, he urinates for a little bit, and the other guy at the other stall start making some weird noises, and the guy's curious and everything, and he puts his ear on the bathroom thing there, and the guy freaking shoves a knife into his head and the guy basically dies right there in the bathroom, and the killer takes the mask and puts it on and goes inside the theater with the popcorn and sits down next to the girl, and the lady says, "Baby, give it up." And basically, the killer, she screams a little bit, and the guy shoves a knife into her abdomen, and she screams, and she gets up, and she has blood, gushing out of her mouth, and she walks around for a bit, and she gets up on the stage in front of the movie screen, blocking the screen actually, and she screams out in terror, and the fans basically take their mask off, and they're appalled by this, and she screams out like I said, and she falls down dead, and boom, and the movie starts finally. It starts out basically where Scream 1 ended. There's this theme music that comes up, and it's not all that much to it. The Randy is talking to Dewey, and they sit down and they talk about the rules to a sequel. Well, actually, Randy talks about the rules to the sequel, and talks about how the body count is always larger, more violence, more gore, carnage candy. The core audience just expects it, and they talk for a while, and Dewey decides to go ahead and leave because everything seems to be fine, and Randy answers his phone, and it's the freaking killer. And they talk for a while, and guy asks him, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And he goes, "Showgirls, absolutely frightening." And he goes around from people to people, looking for the killer, and he doesn't find him. He gets in front of this van, and he goes, and he insults Randy. I'm sorry, Billy from the first movie, and the freaking killer doesn't like this one bit. He grabs the freaking Randy and pulls him into the van, and he says, "I can't believe you said that. That makes me so angry." Pulls him in and kills him, and that's the end of Randy. He didn't make it to part 3, evidently, but he didn't even make it through the first 20 minutes of the freaking movie. And the body count has begun. Well, it started with the lady at the beginning, but technically it started with Randy. So basically, there's not a very complex plot to it. The security guards is protecting Sydney. I'd like to mention that in the original movie, that Cotton Weary is framed for the murder of Sydney's mother. So in this one, he actually gets to basically walk around freely because he's completely freed after being fully exonerated. But in the movie, they explained that the coat was planted there. Cotton Weary's coat was planted, framing him. So, and then of course Sydney says, "No, Cotton Weary murdered my mother." And in the sequel, we find out that all along it wasn't him. Obviously, we found out that at the beginning of the movie, toward the end of the first movie, and in the sequel, we find out again that he wasn't the killer. And sometime he talks to Sydney. He starts following around, and he says that he wants an interview with Diane Sawyer. And after a while, her boyfriend starts talking to her, and he says, that he's with a fraternity, and he gets his necklace, and he sings to her. He puts the necklace on her, and his letters, and puts it on her neck, and kisses her, and sings, "I think I love you," and then one of the girls there, that's like Sydney's friends or something, she says that the brothers are gonna kick his butt, but it's tradition. No, you don't give your letters to your girlfriend in one shape or another. So, and then the security guards, they talk for a while about the security guards, and it says that Sydney says that one of them might be gay. Actually, one of them is gay, actually. Anyway, that they talk for a while, and turns out that the Derek is this guy that is basically training to be a doctor, at the university there, where they're all going to school. And the first one was in high school. This one's in college. And so basically, it cuts to him saying he's here for her, and she says that she doesn't need him right now. So he she asks for a little space, and he says okay, and he goes. And she has this little theatrical thing where she's playing this lady that's basically facing her own destiny, and the killer shows up out of the blue. Basically, it's her imagination, and it's the players that are pretending that that they're doing their normal thing, and Cindy gets freaked out by this, and she talks to the director saying that this is the part she was born for. And she says that it was her fate and she embraced it. So basically, she goes through, goes through the whole thing, and she does rather well, actually. And we go further in the movie even more, and basically, Cotton. Basically, I'm gonna go ahead and skip ahead to the climax because I don't want to put a lot of effort into this. Basically, Cotton is there, and he has a gun, and he's there to protect Sydney and Derek and everything. And Derek is actually put on a cross, and fucking excuse my language. I didn't mean to say that, but a night the turns out that one of the students there is actually responsible for the killings. He's like funded by surprise, surprise, Billy Lumley's mother, and she basically has been paying for his tuition to go to college there. And she says that she found him on the internet. She says that he was quite a fight, and he says that it's going to be right to the trial and it's going to rock. And she says, no, it's not going to be a trial. And she shoots him dead. And she says that she's going to kill Sydney, and she couldn't think of any. She wants her revenge, and she couldn't think of anything more rational. And basically, Cotton Weary goes ahead and basically, pulls out his gun, and Mrs. Loomis basically says that this is his opportunity for revenge because Sydney was the one that basically sent him to prison. And she says, she sent you to prison for a year. Personally, I think it's a little poetic. And Cotton, he thinks about it for a minute, and he thinks that he's going to go ahead and go ahead and take her up on her offer. And she says that he says basically, forget it, I'm not going to do it. And he freaking shoots her. And Sydney says, Cotton says, I'm sorry about all this, Sydney. And she says, Cotton, give me the gun. And he says, okay, hands her the gun. And I don't know. There's not the story's not all that complex. Basically, the friend gets wiped out. Basically after this part where a little while after this part where basically the bodyguards get wiped out in the car, and the freaking Sydney is locked in there with the killer after the killer is knocked out. She freaking escapes through the window. It's a freaking scary scene there. Sometime later, like I said, the whole thing is explained with Sydney and Loomis's mother, Billy Loomis's mother, and basically, Cotton and they basically, before he shot Bill Loomis's mother, he asks for that interview, and Sydney says, "Consider it done," and boom, he shoots her. And so basically, Cotton turns out to be the hero. And he says he gets an interview with the local media, and he says that he's the hero. And well, Sydney is actually initially interviewed, and she says, "Talk to Cotton. He's the real hero." And Sydney, Cotton finally gets his opportunity to say that he's the hero, and basically, that's it. That's the story. There's not much. It's not a very complex story, really. Anyway, Dewey and what's her name? The freak. What's her name? Courtney Cox's character. They have this whole romance thing going on, and it gets intensified actually in this movie. So pretty much that's the end of the story, and Scream 2 is an okay movie.
Scream 2 is a good movie and is given the rating of popcorn balls and gum.
Scream 2 is an okay movie for Halloween. It's got its scary moments. It's obviously not as graphic as the first movie, but there's obviously more killings in this movie. So basically, it's you should enjoy it. So anyway, hit subscribe, share and like, of course. Hit thumbs up to support the channel. And leave a comment below this video, and I'll see you for my next movie review, which is going to be in a bit. Bye.